Today on NewsWatch, temperatures are on the rise across the U.S. Hear how long this heat wave is expected to last. Plus, concierge medicine, a growing number of Americans are opting for health care at home. We'll show you why. And
when the Muslims understand more and more what Muhammad is, what the Quran is, what the history is, then they will go farther away from Islam.
Leaving Islam and turning to Christ, why more Muslims are seeking a new faith. Thanks so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. If you live in the Northeast, continue to brace yourself for another very hot and steamy day. Temperatures across much of the region climb into the triple digits for a third day in a row. But as George Thomas reports, relief is finally on the way.
It's hot, it's sticky, it's uncomfortable.
I know that it's like really hot, but this is like excruciating hot. I cannot stand the heat.
From Oklahoma to New York City.
It feels like 110 right now, and that's not even moving around.
This July scorcher
yesterday was impossible.
Is baking much of the U.S.
I'm drinking water. I'm dehydrated.
More than 70 million people are under a heat advisory.
Once in a while, we take breaks in the shade. We shift with the guys, try to get a breaks in the shade and then come back and keep going.
The high temps are causing power lines to overheat, leaving New York's Staten Island University Hospital to run on generator.
This kind of heat can be dangerous. People have to make smart decisions.
With heat index values expected as high as 100 to 110 degrees.
It's too hot and no good for the older people.
Doctors say keep an eye on the very young, the elderly, and those with chronic health problems, and watch for any signs of overheating.
So things like confusion, sweating, your heart rate becoming faster, breathing faster, anything that's out of the usual.
Out west, it's a much different story.
The street is flooding.
A bone-dry California got so much rain this week, it washed away this bridge connecting LA and Phoenix.
There goes one trash can.
In parts of this drought-stricken state, streets turned into rivers as many neighborhoods were flooded and damaged.
It was just a huge amount of rain in probably 5-10 minutes.
Despite the damage, all this rain is welcome in a state still experiencing 4 years of epic drought. Meanwhile, for folks in the Northeast, relief is on the way as the high heat and humidity will give way to cooler temperatures later in the week. But for now, the heat throughout much of the country is searing, sending people indoors and away from the brutal sun. George Thomas, CBN News.
Secretary of Defense Ashton Carter is in Israel today, hoping to shore up relations after the Iran nuclear deal last week. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has strongly criticized the agreement, saying it puts Israel and the world at risk. He says Israel is not bound by the deal and reserves the right to protect itself. Carter sought to reassure America's strongest ally in the Middle East.
Israel is a cornerstone of our strategy in the Middle East, and its security and qualitative military edge are a top priority for America, for our military, and for me personally. That's especially true when it comes to preventing Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons, which the deal reached in Vienna last week, which is a good deal, is designed to do. Friends can disagree about whether it will work, and we'll be watching Iran very closely to see. But there's no disagreement about the ultimate objective. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon.
Carter spent the day in a closed-door meeting with Israel Defense Minister Moshe Ayalon. It is his first visit to Israel since becoming Secretary of Defense. Over the last years, as relationships between President Obama and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has deteriorated, Michael Oren has endured a front-row seat. He is the former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., and he's written a book that has some in the Obama administration crying foul. White House correspondent Jennifer Wishon explains.
How would you characterize right now the relationship between the U.S. and Israel?
On one hand, the relationships really have never been better. Support for Israel in this country is pretty much at an all-time high. We have a certain difficult and complex relationship with this administration because the president had a worldview The worldview included very open support for the Palestinian cause, an open attempt to reconcile with Iran, and Iran wants to destroy us. So there's already a problem. The deal on the table now, which enables Iran to keep all of its nuclear infrastructure, its centrifuges, its facilities, that doesn't include research and development. They could make more advanced machinery that would enrich uranium even faster. That doesn't include the missiles, that it's not linked to Iran's behavior. Iran is the world's largest sponsor of state terrorism. If the agreement is not attached and linked in any way to a change in Iran's behavior, then it's a bad deal. And it endangers my country. But beyond that, it will endanger America. And people have to internalize that. I know it sounds very abstract, but understand they have missiles, and those missiles will be able to reach this studio in a matter of years. And those missiles have one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to carry a nuclear warhead.
Can the damage that you say that President Obama has wrought on U.S.-Israeli relations be repaired? One
of the most cardinal things we can do is to restore these two principles of what's called no daylight, no surprises. No daylight means we can disagree about all sorts of things, and two countries, even the closest allies, will disagree. But it's very important that we don't have our disagreements out in front of the world, because our enemies, our common enemies, will interpret that as weakness, and they'll use it against us.
You're a member of the Knesset now.
I am.
Legislating is hard.
We have a different political culture. In the Knesset, you yell and scream. So you never think of doing it in the Congress. People, they don't exactly curse one another out, but I think if the seats weren't screwed down, people would be throwing them. All this is happening a 2-hour drive from ISIS. All right, the distance between where we're sitting in Philadelphia.
You say that your greatest accomplishment, your greatest joy is having Israeli grandchildren.
I just think that I'm the luckiest man going to be alive in history at this moment. And to come to this country, Israel, and to start with nothing. I came with a backpack, and back then it was 40 years ago, it was like the Wild West. And to build a family, and then to look at these two Israeli grandchildren is my greatest accomplishment in life.
Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.
The decades-long fight over the Mount Soledad Cross has taken a new turn. A private group that maintains the Mount Soledad Veterans Memorial in San Diego bought the property from the federal government for $1.4 million. Supporters of the monument hope the sale will end years of legal challenges over displaying the cross on public property. Liberty Institute Chief Counsel Hiram Sasser called it a victory for veterans. The memorial was created in 1954 to honor Americans who served in the Korean War. An Oregon Christian couple fined thousands of dollars for refusing to bake a cake for a gay wedding has raised more than $350,000 online. Aaron and Melissa Klein were fined $150,000 after the 2-year legal battle. The Kleins were forced to close their business since 2013. They turned to the web for financial help through the faith-based crowdfunding website Continue to Give. Now they've raised $372,000. Another Republican jumps in the pool of presidential candidates. Ohio Governor John Kasich announcing his bid for the White House today. The second-term Republican governor and former congressman launching his campaign at The Ohio State University. Kasich is known for his unfiltered style and policies that are not always in line with his party. He ran for president once before, briefly seeking the nomination in 2000. Coming up, a medical plan that can add up to big savings. Find out if this new wave of old school medicine is right for you today. More people than expected are signing up for Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act, and some lawmakers are concerned states will not be able to cover the costs of the enrollment when the enrollment surge when the aid is scaled back from the federal government in just 2 years. In Kentucky, 2014 enrollments were more than double the number projected, with more than 300,000 newly eligible residents signing up. That's greater than was initially predicted through 2021. A Kentucky state senator says it is creating a monstrous hole that we have got to figure out how to plug, and we don't know how to do it. Supporters of Medicaid expansion say states will eventually save money by doing away with some of their own services for the uninsured, like mental and behavioral health problems. Many Americans are getting fed up with the insurance-based medical system we have in America. It often means long waits for appointments and doctors who seem to have one eye on the patient and the other eye on the clock. As Lori Johnson shows us, many patients and doctors as well are turning away from insurance, and they're turning to what's known as concierge medicine.
When it comes to health care, Johnny Gary prefers old school, meaning just he and his doctor call the shots without any input from an insurance company.
It's been fantastic.
It's called concierge medicine. Patients pay their primary care physician a monthly fee in exchange for unlimited access 24/7.
Concierge medicine used to be for the rich and famous, not anymore.
We're trying to obliterate that stigma and make sure that people in this country understand that concierge medicine, or what we're calling direct medicine, is affordable and something that everybody should strive for.
Allergies are everywhere.
Here at Diamond Physicians in Dallas, adults pay from $95 to around $300 a month based on age. That covers all acute procedures and medications.
Say they they fell and they cut their hand. Well, they come in, we sew them up. That laceration repair is an acute procedure. It's included in that low monthly fee. If they get a stomach bug and they need IV fluids and let's say some nausea medication, that's an acute medication. It's included. If they have a fracture and they need to come up to our office and have a splint placed, that's included.
Sometimes patients pay extra for services outside the office, like a CT scan, but doctors negotiate cash rates with those third-party vendors that are a fraction of what they bill insurance.
So for an MRI, for instance, we pass those savings on to our clients, $400 instead of $4,000. X-rays for $60 instead of $500. CBC, which is a blood check, $5. Cholesterol check for $6 instead of $126.
The cost for children is even less at $45 a month.
It's funny, I feel like my children only get sick on the nights and the weekends when the offices are closed. So they're available via text message, emails, whatever form of communication is most convenient for you. They answer immediately. I really have never waited more than 5 minutes maximum, maybe, for a return response. It is amazing.
Take a deep breath. Can you do that? Good.
Doctors recently gave Griffin here a breathing treatment, prescription, and a nebulizer to take home, all covered by the monthly fee and on a rainy Sunday afternoon. Perhaps the biggest difference between concierge and insurance-based medicine is the time patients spend with their doctors. The Affordable Care Act flooded offices of already overloaded primary care physicians to the point where FaceTime with doctors can average as little as 8 minutes.
I can't do anything effective in 8 minutes other than just throw a prescription at you and tell you to come back and see me in 2 weeks if it doesn't work.
Primary care doctors who accept insurance treat about 3,000 patients. The typical concierge physician, 500. Here at Diamond, doctors Lissy and James promise their patient load won't exceed 600.
I meet with my clients for about an hour every time they come in. Even if they're coming in for something acute, maybe a sinus infection, an ear infection, I take that time to talk about wellness, talk about nutrition, fitness, overall elevation of health.
Although concierge medicine involves paying cash for day-to-day medical expenses, doctors do recommend buying insurance, but with a high deductible.
But then use that insurance should you get in a car accident and have a 10-day hospital stay with a $100,000 bill. That $6,000 or $7,000 deductible looks awfully nice at that point.
So as insurance-based healthcare complicated this crucial need, more patients and doctors are going old school with a cash-only plan, similar to the way it was a half-century ago. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Up next, could we be seeing the end of Islam as we know it? Hear why some experts believe the fastest growing religion in the world could be on the verge of collapse. The story when we return. We are told that Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world, but why are so many leaving the faith? Dale Hurd has this story.
The headlines say Islam is going to be the largest religion in the world. But Islam is facing a crisis. The terrible deeds of ISIS, done in the name of Allah and following the violent example of Muhammad, have horrified many Muslims who are now questioning their faith. Missionaries to the Islamic world say more Muslims have converted to Christianity since 9/11 than during the entire 14 centuries of Islamic history. Many keep their conversions a secret, afraid for their lives. In London, this British college student from a Pakistani immigrant family left Islam after a lengthy study convinced him the Quran could not be true. We hid his face because Islam teaches that apostates must be killed.
If someone leaves Islam or becomes apostate, he is thrown out of his family. His family will be the first one to abandon him. His friends will reject him. He will be killed or he will be persecuted. A lot of my friends, they said, okay, this is the last time we are talking to you because you disrespected Prophet Muhammad. You disrespected Islam.
Imran has not yet become a Christian, but has studied the Bible and says Christianity is superior to Islam. Some ex-Muslims become atheists, but some discover a God who loves.
Because of ISIS, many people become Christian.
In Sweden, Pastor Fuad Rasho, himself an immigrant from Syria, has baptized more than 100 ex-Muslims.
Every week, I meet almost one or more who come to me. They come to me and like to know about Christianity, about Bible, because they are very angry. They are Muslim, as they don't like to continue to be Muslim.
When it comes to religion, Europe has been called the new dark continent, and some Muslims here feel trapped between atheism and radical Islam. But they see hope in Christianity. When Nassim Ben Iman came with his parents to Germany as immigrants from a Muslim nation, he remembers thinking that if Germany is a Christian nation, then Christianity is a dead, sinful religion.
Nakedness in the television is because of the Christian religion. Living together, not married, is because of the Christian religion.
But then Nassim discovered real Christianity and is today an evangelist reaching Muslims and non-Muslims for Christ.
When the people understand who Jesus is, they will more and more love Jesus and follow Jesus. And when the Muslims understand more and more what Muhammad is, what the Quran is, what the history is, then they will go farther away from Islam.
Islam is going to collapse.
Brother Rashid is the son of a Moroccan imam who lived for 15 years as a secret convert to Christianity. Now he hosts an Arabic-language Christian program called Daring Questions that challenges Muslims to question their faith.
Many Muslims actually, they say, if what ISIS is doing is Islam, I'm leaving it. Some of them are becoming atheists. There's a huge wave of atheism in the Arab world right now. And there is also a huge wave of conversion to Christianity following Jesus Christ. I have never seen something like this. Islam was never faced with this crisis before.
Nassim says Islam appears strong, but is only feeding off the spiritual void in many weak Christian nations.
Let me say, the greatest power of the Islam is the weakness of the Christians. That's what's happened in Germany and I think in America and all the Western countries.
Even while it seems that Islam is poised to overtake the West, Brother Rashid says Christians should not fear Islam, a faith that he is convinced is slowly dying.
Islam is not God's instrument to judge the West. I think people are afraid because of what they see on the news, but even violence is just a sign of collapse.
Dale Hurd, CBN News.
And God has not given us the spirit of fear. Stay with us. We are coming right back. Want to live a healthier and longer life? Maybe you should try biking. CBN News' own lifelong bike commuter Paul Strand checked out some of the reasons many are choosing to bike instead of drive.
The addition of thousands of miles of bike lanes and trails in recent years have made many Americans feel biking's now a safer alternative. Chemicals released biking make you feel happier and less stressed. It boosts energy levels 20%. 56-year-old bike commuter Nick Bauer.
And I get into work and it's just, I feel great, so that is a tremendous positive. I mean, I feel energized and, that's a great way to start the day. Beautiful morning like this.
It just gets all the juices flowing.
I feel really relaxed when I get into the office after having a nice bike ride into work.
Many people say the thought of showing up at their job all sweaty keeps them from pedaling in. Washington, D.C. bike commuter Mike Goodnow says you can deal with that.
It's not usually a problem, only on the really hot days, but usually you can just slow down a little bit and dress appropriately and it's fine. Even if it is, a lot of offices now have showers.
So why might you want to consider biking? What if I told you it could save your life and save you a fortune? First of all, the health benefits. In their first year, most bikers lose about 13 pounds, burning 500 to 700 calories an hour. What's that lead to? Well, heart disease is the #1 killer in the world. Bikers cut their risk of heart disease by 50%. If every American replaced 3 miles of driving with 3 miles of biking every day, 300,000 fewer of us would die of heart disease every year. As for the money, you drivers pay about $11,000 a year for your transportation. Bicyclists, $350 a year. $11,000 versus $350. You drivers, you work about 2 hours every day to pay for your transportation. We bicyclists, we work about 10 minutes to pay for ours. Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
Stories in the numbers indeed. Thanks, Paul. Well, finally this hour, a message for you to share, post, tag, and tweet this Tuesday. And of course, we hope this will inspire you as well. Remember this and stand strong in your faith and in the courage of your convictions, and don't be swayed by what people think or say about you. Your reputation can change with the wind because it is what others say about you. But your character is what counts. It's how you behave when no one is looking, and that character will ultimately shape your legacy. That's going to do it now for CBN NewsWatch. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. Be sure to tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do it on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. Hope you join us again right here next time. Make this a terrific Tuesday, everybody. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.